on our weekly AJA Zoom event, and welcome to any new people that are joining us for the first time this week. We also welcome those watching on Facebook and also anybody that's listening to the audio replay of this session, which is broadcast every Thursday at midday and Sundays at 4 p.m. on J-Air Community Radio, which is at FM 88 in Melbourne, or at j-air.com.au. My name is Alan Freedman. I'm Vice President of the Australian Jewish Association. Also visible on your screen is David Adler, the President of the AJA, as well as our guest for tonight, Lital Slonim, and she's from the organisation Nachala, and she will explain all about that. And the topic is Repopulating Judea and Samaria. Tonight we're going to do a presentation. We're going to have a presentation from Lital, and then we'll have questions. If you're not familiar with our system, the way to ask a question is to raise your hand electronically. That gives us a signal that you want to ask a question, because we do need to give you the option of unmuting yourself. So we need to know where you are. Written questions can be put on the chat function, and Robert Gregory, our Director of Public Affairs, will read some of them out during question time. And of course, if you don't like the chat, you can also always disable it quite easily. Now, Judea and Samaria has been a hot issue for the world for 50 years, only because it came under Israeli control as a result of the Six-Day War. For the 20 years beforehand, when it was under Jordanian control, nobody, including the Palestinian Arabs, cared two hoots about it. However, it is indisputable on all levels, biblical, archaeological, historical, that this area is the foundational heartland of Jewish history, which is why this part of Eretz Yisrael is regarded by much of the Jewish world as integral to the modern state of Israel. So repopulating Judea and Samaria is a priority for true Zionists, and one organisation making that happen is Nahala, which is a very apt name as it means heritage or inheritance in English. Lital Slonim is Israeli-born but married into the Slonim family from Melbourne, and with her husband Judea, Lital is a regular visit to Australia. So to give us a report on what Nachala has been up to, she joins us now. Lital, nice to see you again, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much, Alan, and hello, everyone.
Okay.
I'm very glad to be here today in this Zoom meeting, and I want to thank AJA and thanks David Adler and Friedman and all the rest of the management of this important organization for this opportunity to be with you today and to share with you our dealings with the land of Israel, and especially in Judea and Shomron. For more than 17 years, I have been actively involved in the Nachala movement. I'm a construction engineer, a mother of 3 lovely children, and leading activities to promote the settling movement in Judea and Shomron. A part of this, I have visited Australia a few times, and some of you I have met in these visits. But today, I'm standing here in a position where we have never been in the past. Now, I'm sure you are asking yourself, what has happened? What has changed? I hope that many of you visited Judea and Shomron during your visit to Israel. And when were you there, you saw these areas flourishing and growing with your own eyes. In Judea and Shomron, just 1 minute, I see that we have just a problem with the PowerPoint. I apologize. Just 1 minute. It's stuck. We will fix it up. 1 minute. Okay.
Maybe Gilla, turn your sound off, because every time you click, we get a noise. Turn the sound of the computer right off.
I don't think that's the problem that they're experiencing.
No?
Okay, what's going on?
We might have to live with it.
I'm not worried about the sound, but that sound is a false sound. So,
Just 1 minute. Let's try one last try. And if not,
and I think, Lital, you might have muted yourself. That's better.
okay. Now you see?
Yes.
Okay.
Aha,
Okay,
working.
good.
Well done.
Beautiful.
I'm happy.
Not many of you have visited.
Okay, so like I said, I hope that many of you visited Yehuda and Shomron during your trip to Israel. And when you were there, you saw the areas flourishing and growing with your own eyes. In Yehuda and Shomron, the heart of the Jewish state, there is more than 8,000 Jews spread over 800,000 Jews that are spread over 250 cities, towns, villages, and farming communities. In only 55 years, the Jewish state made this area from barren to flourishing area. The success of the Jewish settlement in Yehuda and Shomron also brought major changes to the Arabic that are in this area. In 1967, when Am Israel returned back to this area, Yehuda and Shomron was totally undeveloped with no infrastructure, no job, and simple backward life. For example, the city of Shechem received its power from generator. The success that the nation of the Israeli brought to Yehuda and Shomron directly influenced on the Arab population and dramatically changed them, became more modern. The strength that the Arabs has today and the demands of the PA to establish Palestinian state in the heart of Israel create a situation where the EU gives support in major way. We are talking about great financial support, especially focused on takeover of Area C, area that belong to the Jewish state. The PA received 6 million euro from EU and another 50 million euro from other sources every year. We would expect that those funds will invest in education, health, and jobs, but this is far from the truth. 70% the yearly budget of the PA is invested in the takeover of Area C. This data is not a secret that I'm saying to you. Rather, Jihad Ravia, the planning manager of the Ministry of Local Arabs in the PA, declared it publicly. Dear friends, we are standing at a completely different point from what we knew in the past. It is not military action, it is not private moves, and it is even not another war against powerful terror organization. It's all together. There is today strong international action against the spirit and the safety of the Jewish nation in its homeland. Now, there is great battle for the empty land of Yehuda and Shomron. The PA made strategic decision to create facts on the ground in Area C in order to be able to declare Palestinian state in this area till 2030. This method they copied from the Jewish nation in 1948. They put a focus on strategic area that close to existing Jewish communities and main roads. They are building in Area C with any permission. They are paving roads, planting trees, building schools in strategic places, and push the population to join them by giving them financial benefits. As you can see now on your screen, this example is from Gush Etzion. This is an Arabs that building illegally, spreading out from Area B. The yellow is Area B, and they are spreading out to Area C in the middle. And the green that you saw on the screen, this is land that the JNF was purchased many years ago. And this land is under big dangers because the Arabs are building and trying to reach this area. Now what you see on the screen, this is also a plan from Gush Etzion near Yishuv Efrat, show how the Arabs are planning moves, building projects in Area C. In green are the area that the Arab planned. And in red, you can see this is the area that they have actually built illegally. As you can see, it is very close to the Jewish community, Efrat. After seeing this massive investment in this takeover, it is create understanding of the danger of the program in the result it can be on the future of the Jewish state. I will show you a short video and we will continue.
Right now, a fierce battle is being waged over extensive areas in Judea and Samaria. The leadership of the Palestinian Authority has made a strategic decision to obtain a Palestinian state by setting facts on the ground, building and seizing massive areas of land. These operations are backed and provided with immense financial support by European countries. This has been done in accordance with the Palestinian Authority's detailed plan that focuses on strategic locations that will create an Arab territorial continuum adjacent to Jewish towns and the highways.
أنا أشيد بكل المواطنين أن يتعاملوا مع منطقة جيم على أنه كل سنتي في الأراضي الفلسطينية هو لنا.
Jewish towns are being surrounded on all sides, according to the Palestinian government's plan to seize all of Judea and Samaria by 2030, with an immediate emphasis on land in Area C.
ولا مرة ترددنا يعني احنا نروح نبني بدون ما ننسق مع الجانب الإسرائيلي إطلاقا، لا مثل تصريح ولا مثل موافقة ولا شيء. مستمر في البناء بحاول يزعل.
According to data from the Defense Ministry, Arabs seize approximately 15,000 acres of land annually within Area C, the area intended for Jewish settlement.
لا يوجد ما يمنعنا من أن نزرع مناطق سي. لا يوجد ما يمنعنا أنه نعمل بركسات على مناطق سي. لا يوجد ما يمنعنا أن نزرع أشجار في مناطق سي. ولذلك يجب أن نتوجه إلى هذه المناطق.
The state of Israel is dragging its feet and does not attempt to stop these illegal Arab land seizures. It refrains from discussing new Jewish construction plans in Judea and Samaria. Freezing construction is strangling Jewish development. The civil administration and government entities intentionally turn a blind eye toward Arab land seizures, while selective enforcement is applied only to Jewish settlement. In this manner, the State of Israel has lost 500,000 acres of state lands over the past 15 years. This terrible discrimination is ethically, morally, and practically outrageous. Here, in the land of Israel, Jews are not allowed to build, but Arabs can. The scope of Arab seizure of state land has recently led many in Israeli society to understand the severity of Arab land seizures and their ramifications on Jewish settlement and on the future and security of the State of Israel. If we don't wake up, this could be destructive. The history of the Jewish nation is full of stories of courage and taking initiative by determined people who inspired real change. The pioneers operated within a complex reality. There were attacks, riots, laws banning immigration to Israel and prohibiting them from building new towns. This situation seemed impossible to overcome. They chose to act, leading the Jewish nation forward and releasing them from the straits. They pulled the entire Jewish nation after them and essentially determined our future. The spirit of the pioneers who built the tower and stockade settlements at a time of crisis, during riots and decrees from a foreign government, beats strongly in the hearts of the Jewish people. The courage of those pioneers who built 11 settlements in the Negev at a time when the potential state plan did not include the Negev within Israel's borders at all still echoes in the Jewish nation. The strength of the illegal Jewish immigrants who dealt with any obstacle that faced them on the way to establishing a national homeland still courses through our veins. The courage of a young state that was just established to take in hundreds of thousands of new immigrants is still deeply rooted inside each of us. The spirit that drove the Jewish nation in the past still exists today. We can change the mindset and lead to a change of policy. Working together, we will succeed in returning the Israeli government to policies that encourage construction, development, and the establishment of new towns throughout all of Judea and Samaria. The pioneering spirit is revealed time and time again by the settlement groups of the Nahala movement and its many supporters. These groups exemplify the pioneering spirit and what it means to be faithful to the land of Israel. The Nachala movement is dedicated to changing policies and causing the Israeli government to refocus on construction and development. This is based on a historical understanding that pioneering activities on the ground, combined with public and political support, will give the Israeli government the strength to stand up to pressure and resume its natural policy of a nation building and developing its land. Each of us has the opportunity to be involved and build the next level of settlement in Israel. The success of this plan is dependent on the support and backing it receives from all of us. Together, we will continue the chain of generations, standing firmly and facing the challenges to build this historical dream. The pioneers of past generations paved the way for us to establish a Jewish state. It is our responsibility to build the future for the next generations. Together, we will raise the flag of Jewish life and lead the Jewish nation.
Okay, so like we saw here in this short video clip, in all of our Jewish history, we dealt with difficulties, but this situation needed us to reach in a much stronger way. And in our past, there is a clear understanding that settlement brings safety. Yitzhak Tabenkin, one of the pro-state left-wing leaders, said, "Without settling the land, we are putting into danger the very existing of the state and invite more pressures from the world." We can learn from the past how strong action of pioneers lead to changing the reality. From the days of Yoshua and Caleb, through the victories of the Maccabees, till our recent history of the pioneers, the Chalutzim, who established the state of Israel, in all of this period, the pioneer faced many difficulties that looked impossible to pass. They chose to act. They chose to lead the Jewish nation, and they changed reality. For example, in July 1946, there was a plan that did not include the Negev in the state of Israel. In the eyes of many, it looked like this area was lost. But action of pioneers changed this. On Motzei Yom Kippurim, 11 new settlements were established in one night in the Negev. Thanks to this brave decision, and because of this action, most of the area of the Negev was included in the Jewish state in this plan. Like these pioneers today, with a joint effort, we will see major change in the people of Israel. As we saw at Evyatar, a new issue that Nahala established in the center of the Shomron a year ago, 52 families moved into a basic condition. Over 1,000 people participate in every Shabbat, and more than 100,000 people came to visit and gave support. These people came from all short backgrounds and from far away at the Golan Heights and the Lat, just to be part of this modern pioneer movement. The establishment of Evyatar was a turning point and brought hope to the public that it is indeed possible to take action and create a change. The biggest achievement there was that after 20 years of the Israeli government did not have the power to establish a new issue, in Evyatar, the government agreed to establish this issue in speeded up process. Nachala movement has set a goal to lead in the change of the government policy, to bring back the Israeli government to the idea of establishing new settlement, new yeshuvim, from the historical understanding and the combination between pioneer action combined with strong public support, PR, and public lobby in Israel and around the world will give the Israeli government the power to stand strong in the face of pressures and return to the natural policy of building the homeland. This is necessary responsibility that Nahala took her shoulders today. We started the Building the Future Plan program, in which we create over 25 Garinim with more than 1,000 families who are ready at the drop of the hat to leave their comfortable home and conditions and move to empty hill and live in a very basic condition. In order to support this group, there are local teams all over Israel helping. Last week, as you no doubt saw, over than 10,000 people came out to express their demand from the government to return to establishing new Yeshuvim in Judea and Shomron. Families with young children, rabbis, public figures, a Knesset member, all joined in the demand and voted with their feet. More than 30 rabbinic leaders signed a letter of support, which a call to everyone to take part in this important mission. Knesset members came to the site and promised to act to help establish this Yeshuvim, this settlement. Public leaders from both within Judea and Shomron and outside of it gave support to the family and people who came and promised to do all they can to help establishing this new site. In addition, there were many people who came out in their local area to show support for the people who went up to those hills. We have seen with this action that demand to establishing new Yeshuvim, this demand in Judea and Shomron has returned to the public discussion, and it started to enter into discussion about policy lines in the new government to be formed from after this election in a few months' time. Here we have combination of these three goals that Nachala movement set: actions in the field, PR, and public and political support. This combination has the ability to create a real change in the future of the settlement movement and in the future of the Jewish state. We are now entering into election period, and this is the perfect time for public to influence the policy of the Israeli government. We need strong leadership that will be able to stand under pressure and keep the future and the safe of Jewish nation in the Jewish homeland. Leadership gets its power from the Jewish nation in Israel and from the Jewish communities all over the world. This is why we depend on each and every one of us. In one of our meetings with Yuli Edelstein of the Likud party, he told us that they have great pressure put on them from the left and outside government. It's not easy to deal with this. He said to us, we need you to help us by create pressure from the other side. As a movement, we decided to put strong pressure to help the government to keep the land of Israel. And together, we can partner to create positive pressure and influence on the future and the future of the coming generation. Each and every one of us needs to be ambassador for this. And when we will be together, we will make history with this.
Thank you, Lital. Very, very informative. We'll take questions in just a moment, but before we do, I'll just take the opportunity to mention that if you're listening on JAIR, this is the Australian Jewish Association Zoom event, which we have every Wednesday night. Our guest tonight is Lital Slonim, and she's been talking on repopulating Judea and Samaria. I'll just quickly hand over to David, who'll tell us what's happening next week, and then we'll get started with some questions.
Okay, thank you very much, Alan, and I'll do that. But I want to say that during that presentation, I was thinking of one of our great biblical characters, Deborah, one of the great female leaders in battling for the state of Israel. And I think there's been a bit of reincarnation in our guest this evening.
You put on my shoulders big and heavy.
It's praise.
After saying those things.
I put on your shoulders well-deserved praise, Lital. As we do each week, if there's anyone here who is not yet actively supporting AJA after the event, please go to the website jewishassociation.org.au, where you can apply for membership or make a donation. Make sure you join our email list, which is free and keeps you advised of news and views and events. Like and follow the AJA Facebook page for daily updates. Just a quick look at what's happening next week. We have Michael Danby joining us. As everyone here knows, we have a new Labor government, and Michael is not only a great supporter of Israel, he's an expert on various foreign policy issues, and we will be discussing these with him and giving the new government a bit of a report card. And I just want to foreshadow that Lital is coming to Australia soon. She'll be doing a number of events that we will publicise in our email, but there is one I want to highlight this evening, which AJA is organising, and that's Chabad Double Bay in Sydney on Thursday, August 4, 6:30. We're doing a bit of a dinner meeting, so there is a charge. It's only $25 per person to have dinner and to have some additional information and meet Lital in Sydney on Thursday, August 4. Thank you.
Thanks, David. Okay, we'll go to questions in a moment. Lital, I've just got a couple of mine that I'll get in first. When you take these groups to start a new settlement somewhere in Judea and Samaria, as you said, they live in very basic conditions, but at some point, I imagine roads and water and electricity have to get provided. So does this happen? And does it happen happily, or do you have to fight for it?
Great question, because this question gives the basic idea how new Yeshuvim are establishing in Judea and Shomron. And actually, most of the story of the Israel country was like this. In Israel, the factor is coming before the de jure. We see it time after time through all over the years that we need in the beginning the pioneers that will climb on the hill, and like you said, Alan, we live in a basic condition. But of course, and like I said in the beginning of my speech, Judea and Shomron today is a flourishing place. You will see infrastructure, you will see universities, schools, and community centers, shopping center, everything. And it is something that the government, only the government can do. And this is the process that we have in Judea and Shomron. In the beginning, we have to make facts on the ground. We need pioneers that will live under basic condition. And after them, the Israeli government does come and develop the area, pave roads, bring proper infrastructure, and build a public school and schools, and then all of those spaces became much more comfortable. And even if you will ask people that live in Judea and Shomron, many of them will tell you that they live in so high quality life, because the life in Judea and Shomron is very good. When we're talking about starting a new thing, a new place to establish a new issue, so we have difficulties like in every beginning. But after that, in all of the cases, the government came. When we spoke about the pressure that there is today on the Israeli government, if we will look 50, 40, and 30 years ago, so the Israeli government, it was easier to have to support and develop, and this is why all the process was much more quickly. And today, in the last 20 years, because that the pressure from Europe, from United States, from left organization became very, very strong, it makes the process to be more difficult. But still, the government invests a lot in Judea and Shamron and develop all this area.
So if you set up a yeshuv tomorrow, how long would you have to wait until you get some services from the government?
So first of all, it depends, not only depends on us, it depends about all of us. Because if the government feels that this is something that have strong support, it's easier for them to do it quickly. And if they feel that it's something that the public doesn't care so much from this, and from the other side, they have pressure from left organization to don't help and not develop this place, so it can take a longer time. But if we will look, for example, on Evyatar, the new issue that our movement established a year ago in the Shomron, this issue from barren land, after 1 month, became to be an issue with 52 families, with shul, with kindergarten, with midrasha for women, with playground for kids. It was only in a month. Of course, in a month, you cannot do it in high level of quality life. It was still basic. But when this was so, when Evyatar had the strong effect on the ground and also a strong support from the Israeli public, the Israeli government, like I said before, after 20 years, they didn't have even the courage to say, I'm not talking to do, but even to say that they will establish new issue because they were afraid from the pressure that they will receive. But in Evyatar, the strong positive pressure that was from the public gave the government the courage to sign on a paper and declare that they will establish their issue in a short and quickly process. So we can learn from this example and in many other more examples that when there is strong demand to the government to support, they help more and in bigger different aspects and quicker. And if we are not bring this demand as a strong public demand and they have pressure from left, so they will do it slowly.
Okay, just one more quick one. Now, I can understand that political parties will either like you or hate you, depending on whether they're right or left. What about the media? What sort of treatment are you getting from the mainstream media?
Let's take, for example, our big event last week. Yeah, we brought more than 10,000 families with children. People from all over Israel, not only from Judea and Shamron. We brought them to climb up to empty hills, to new point, to establish, to demand from the government to establish new yeshuvim. And I'm sure also in Australia, you heard it in the news, and some of you are looking about sites and different news sites on Israel. And some of the press, of course, trying to say that the settlers are acting not legally. Yeah, this is one of the excuses that the left are using many years when they want to make this argue against the right-wing ideas and the left ideas. It's much easier for them. They don't want us to come and say, listen, this land, Jews will not be able to build, because this is something that the Jewish nation, it's hard to accept it. This is in the middle of our country, the biblical land. So the left, they learned that if they're using different excuses, like they said, what you're doing, it's not legally, or it's not humanitarian. They're using this excuse as a way to say why it's not okay to accept this. But in this case, last week, we said, you know what? All of those people will come with tents. They will not build not legally. They will come to those hilltops with tents just to demand. And even so, while we're living in democratic state, that Benny Gantz, that he has his political view that everyone knows, he saw that this move became so strong, and the support of this move, and like I showed you before, there was rabbinic leaders that was participate, and Knesset members, and so many public figures that took actually part in this move. And when the left saw this wakening up in Israel, they realized that something happening. And when they understand that this might give many other people hope that if we will be united and act, we can create a change. This is why they try to put it in a bad light and fight against it. And when I had an interview yesterday to one of the United States, to one of the newspaper there, and he asked me, listen, when you see so strong actions of the left from Benny Gantz and the left parties in the Knesset against you, it's not give you to feel weak, and it will not succeed. And I tell him, you know what? This is exactly the opposite. When you are strong, when you do something meaningful, and when you succeed, this is the point that the other side start to be nervous. And what we saw last week, we saw a huge awakening up in the Jewish nation, and people that are really ready to do action, really to make sure that the change will happen. And we saw how much the other side of the political map understand that this is something that if they will not try to stop, it will create a big change. So for me, it was a huge winning mark that our action is in the right way and succeed and strong. And of course, from time to time, we want that this support and this demand will grow and develop. And we know that this is only a question of time until we will see change in the policy government.
Okay, thank you. Well said. Okay, over to you. I've got Ron, Gary, Leon, Hugh, and Helen. So we'll start with you, Ron. Please unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hello, Ron.
Hello, good evening, and thank you for a lovely presentation. Just a couple of very quick questions. Has Nachala actually formulated a constructive and practical plan to counter the European Union and the European Union funded NGOs, that they can practically try and stop them, slow them down, whatever? And the second thing is, could you harness and get a tailwind from the housing crisis in Israel to help spur the development of the settlements, especially with Aliyah as well? Mm-hmm.
So, like you said, and and also I show you some of the data, and I can show you many more how much the European Union support, invest a lot of money, and also support in a public and PR ways. And we know, and we learn also from the history, that the only way to stop the Arab to take control on areas that belong to the Jewish nation, it's only through establishing more settlement. It brings two things to the field. First of all, there is a big battle between them, the basic question to who these lands in Yehuda and Shomron belongs. And while you giving the hope to the Arab population, that when you show them, when the Israeli nation show them that we are not sure that this land belongs to us, so this gives them the stronger hope to ask in their minds that Palestinian state will establish there, chas v'chalila. But when the opposite process happens, and the Israeli government establishing and moving on and develop the Jewish communities in Yehuda and Shomron, it's important also to understand that there is big gap between the Palestinian leadership and the support that they get from the EU than the population. And this is something that you all should know and understand it, because it's very, very meaningful. We hear in the press the leadership, and we see how much they enjoying from major support. But the population, the Arabic population, are not having a good condition life to live under the Palestinian Authority. And this is why many of them want to leave Israel and to immigrate. And from the Jordani board, we have data from the Jordani board that said that every year, more than 80,000 Arabs are leaving Yehuda and Shomron, immigrate to other countries. They want to go to Canada, they want to go to Jordan, they want to go to Europe. They want to live. They became, like we said, Yehuda and Shomron became developed, and they became more modern. And it's opened their eyes for the population, and they want to live much modern life and much more comfortable life. And to immigrate, they need money. One of our activities in Nahala is land redemption. And why we call it win-win solution, because most of the Arab population want to live. And the leadership and also Europe understand that if the population will leave, so they will not have any who to support. So we need to create a wave that helps the Arab to immigrate and live, and strengthen the Jewish communities in Yehuda and Shomron. And when it will happen, naturally, that not legally building of the Arab that happening now on areas that's supposed to be for the Jewish communities, it will stop naturally, because the main spirit that will lead will influence. And we see it time after time in the fact, in area, even in Hebron, for example, in every place that we bought a building and we create a Jewish life, the Arab all around the area just left. We didn't encourage them, nothing, but there is something strong and natural that's happening when the Jewish nation know and believe in what she's doing and do it strong. It's happened also in 1948 and in 1967 that the Arab just left their home when they saw that the Israeli nation returned back. And so we need to, from one side, to make sure that the Israeli communities will grow and develop and new more yeshuvim will establish. From the other side, we need to encourage the Arab to immigrate and live. And of course, the second, like I showed you before, this circle of three different points that we are dealing with. Of course, one of the important legs that we need is a very strong PR and public support. And when the Europe they support now the Arabic population, and they said it's humanitarian, we want to support. But when we are show the world that this money goes not to education, not to get their Arab life better with infrastructure, and they invest it to take the Jewish land. So it's also make more difficulties on Europe to continue this support. So we are working on with all of these three fields: make facts on the ground, create a strong public support, and also to do a lot of PR inside of Israel and also outside, so that the pressure that will be on those countries that support the Arab, they will get pressure to stop this support because of what they're doing.
Okay, thank you, Lital. Gary, your turn, and then we'll go to Leon.
Thank you for your verve. I think we're all enjoying it. The international view is guided a lot by that catchphrase, settlements are an obstacle to peace. I think it was coined by James Baker at the Madrid conference. I can't remember it being heard beforehand, but it has resonances with traditional European and Middle Eastern ideas, if there's specific places the Jews are allowed to live and they're not allowed to live outside of those areas. I think that has a lot to do with the idea of the areas that Jews are permitted to live in Israel.
Yeah. So I guess Gary, what you might be saying, and it's something that I've been a bit bothered about, is the word settlement and settlers. Lital, do you find that that's the word that everybody's using, but do you think maybe it has negative connotations and sends the wrong message to the broader world?
Probably. Can I just interrupt? More that traditional idea that harks back to anti-Semitism, that there's specific places that Jews are permitted to live that others determine.
Lital?
I understand what you're saying. I think, of course, that when the press are using this word in a bad light, of course, it's something that we need. The word settlers, you know what? Let's say it like this. I think that the word like pioneers, like chalutzim, mityashvim, settlers, it's an honor to be part of it, because this is a word that expresses people that are willing to do and to act and to even suffer for their ideological issues. And they live not only for their private life, also for the mission of the nations. You're right, Gary, that in the last years, the press and the left brought this word settlers to be maybe in a bit negative way of looking, because it's now many people will connect it to, like you said, not legally. But I think that I looked also in English. I spoke a few times and with friends that we spoke about the word settlement also, not only settlers on settlement, that also settlement has a negative, in some of the places, negative connotations, because it's like people said it's not legally and stuff like this. But I feel when we're speaking about process in our nation, it was most of the strong process was settling the land. This makes you, the land make you united. It give you a base, common base. And this is where the place that all our stories in our history happened. So I think that if we will find other words that will express this strong connection and strong meanings of, so it's also will be good. But when I looked and try to find other words that will express the settlement movement, תנועת ההתיישבות, I saw that those words are express the higher and the biggest ideological dream of the old generation of settling the land. So it's a good question, and maybe it will be our challenge to find more different words to express this.
Yeah. Maybe you need to call them resettlers, because after all, it's Jews coming back. Leon, we'll take your question now. Thank you. Leon, please unmute yourself.
While he's doing that, can I just make the point we're running close to time, so let's keep the questions and answers as brief as possible.
Leon, you did unmute for a second, but that's not. We'll take Hugh. We'll take you first while Leon's getting organised. So, Hugh, please unmute yourself. Okay, we're back to Leon. Hugh,
sorry about that. I don't know why that happened. Shalom Lital. My question is this. On those occasions when the Israeli government ignores the threats of the EU and the USA and does persist in
creating facts on the ground, do the EU and the USA carry out their threats? And what leverage does Israel have to withstand any threats or actions, punitive actions, that the EU and the USA might take?
Lital, did you catch that?
I had a problem in the line. Just
Okay, so
question again.
The question is, does the USA and the EU, they make threats from time to time, do they actually carry them out? And if so, what do you do about it?
The UN, when you're talking about threat, first of all, the EU, like I saw, they not only threat, they are today support in major ways, and also major financial support in the Palestinian Authority, in the PA. And they invest a lot of money that goes directly to take over the Area C, the land that's supposed to be under the Israeli government. Sometimes they even said that they will, for example, last week, that everyone talked about this big event that we did in demand of establishing new Yeshuvim. So left organization went to the EU and asked them that they need to do to stop us, the people that are active in this movement, to take from us our visas and to not let us go to Europe anymore. Usually it's stopped there. I mean, we all have our visas. Sometimes the noise that it's more than what's happening in the reality. But the point is, and this is something very important that we all understand, as a nation, and of course the Israeli government need to stand very strong in front of this pressure, and to say and to understand that us, the Jewish country here in the Middle East, surrounded so many Arab countries, we are here not because no other country mercy. We're here because we did it, and we standing here. Of course, we understand that the world today has connection, and we know security issues. But if we will show the world that we are sure and standing strong on our opinion, and we understand and we demand that our land will stay belong to us and developed by Jews, the world will accept it. And we saw it in so many examples in the world, even not connection to Israel, when a nation was strong with her demand, and the world accepted. And especially when we are talking about such a small country of the Jewish nation, and there is so many Arab countries that surround us, we as a country and the Israeli government have to show the world that those threats are not scared us. And when we will show, and you know, there is a Professor Uman, he was a Nobel Prize winner, and he talking about that if you want, he said he said there is paradox when you are in a situation of a war. If there is two-sided, and he explained this, two sides in a war. And he said, if one side will show the other side that he wants to do peace and he doesn't want to fight anymore and he ready to negotiation, the other side will feel that now he is the strong side and this is the right time for him to finish the story. And it's not encourage him to come and to talk with the other side. But if both sides are so strong, if you show you are strong, the other side respect you. And then the motivation to live peacefully, it's much bigger and stronger. So we need to understand that every time that the Jewish nation and the Israeli government show weakness, it's make the pressure from left and the raising and the Arab actions, terror action, it's encouraging them. And when the opposite's happening, when the Israeli government are strong and we show our strength, then it's take down the whole motivates of left organization and the Arab. And this is exactly what we need to be in Israel. Strong, sure in ourselves that this is our land. We came to build our homeland and it belongs to us.
Okay, Hugh, fire away.
Hi, Lital. I entirely agree with you. I'm in Jerusalem at the moment, and we're showing Whose Land at the Begin Center at 7:30 this evening. I see from one of your slides that Danny Danon is supporting you, and in fact, his chief of staff, Oshi Elman, is coming tonight. But what sort of support do you get across the board from the Likud party? By the way, Danny's taking part in the Likud primaries at the moment, so he won't be there tonight. He's going to re-enter Knesset if he can. But how much support do you get from Likud in general?
Okay, so first of all, it's very important to know that our movement, many years, going step by step with all the right-wing Knesset parties in the Knesset. We talk with them a lot. We're meeting them all the time. They are coming to our events and to our marches. And even last week, when all of those people climb on the hill, many Knesset members not only said that they support, they came to show in their feet that they are part of it. And also in the Likud, we have very strong lobby and support and great connection. And for example, I will give you, if you remember, in 2015, there was an organization called V15, Victory 2015. This was a left organization that established to make sure that the left will win in this election. We're talking about 2015. And then in Israel, the situation was very hard. And the right parties felt that they will lose ruling. And all the polls shows that the number of the right parties in the government will be not enough to establish a government. And us, Nachala movement, our movement, took a very important decision. We said 3 days before election, we will bring everyone to Rabin Square in Tel Aviv under a title of We All United for Build the Land of Israel. And we will do it not only with the Likud and not only with Tzionut Datit, the different right-wing parties. We will bring all the right-wing parties on one stage, and we all declare and we all say that we will build the land of Israel. And listen up, this changed the whole situation in Israel. And you can, after we will finish our talk, you can all Google it and look for it, and you will see the amazing photo of Rabin Square. We brought more than 100,000 people to Rabin Square 3 days before election. And we brought everyone from Bibi Netanyahu, the head of the Likud, to all the head of the different parties from the right in Israel. And they all stood on this stage. In the beginning, they, when we came to them with this idea a few weeks before, and we said to the Likud, listen, let's do something that will unite the whole right people, population in Israel. They said, no, we do only things for ourselves. We not do now something, all the parties. But us, Nachala, we said, no, this time it will be a united power, everyone, all the right. And when they saw so many people are coming, and it makes in those elections the question that who will lead the Israel country, this was the strongest question that was on the table. And you can see that 3 days after this huge event, the Likud got more than 30 seats, which was number that they didn't saw a number like this. And why? Because we didn't took the low political issue in the speaking in the population in Israel. This idea brought the ideological of settling the land to be the major issue. And this is exactly what we want to do now in this coming election. We understand that this is a window of opportunity to us to create now a changing policy. Now all the Knesset members and all the parties are looking right and left. They're looking all over to see what you and I and all of you here, they look what we think and what we say, because they want to understand what the Jewish nation expects from them. And this is the perfect opportunity to us to create strong pressure and demand that in the coming government that will establish after the election, the idea of establishing new Yeshuvim will be part of the basic policy. And you know, it starts from declaration. We will create a situation like we did last week, that those Knesset members will come and befriend many people and befriend the press. They will declare that they will establish a new Yeshuvim. And it starts from this. And after this, when the pioneer movement, like it's in all over the past, it happened also this time will be, when the pioneers will establish the places, the government will be already in this, inside this process, and inside those they will be have to continue their promises, and of course without a strong demand it will not happen. But this is our opportunity to influence.
Okay, thank you, Lital. Thank you so much. We have come to time. So Lital, thank you for your presentation. You're very passionate, and it comes through. And this audience is right behind everything Nachala is doing. So thank you for your work and joining us again tonight. I think we all know here in Australia that we should be making Aliyah. But you can convince us when you arrive in Australia in a couple of weeks. I've put the schedule up on the chat. The spacing is a little bit awkward, but we will send out further details of where people can see you, and the website is up there as well. So Lital, thank you very much, and thank you to Nahala.
And thank you too. And I'm looking forward, like Alan said, like David said, I'm coming next week to Australia. I will be in Melbourne, in Sydney, and I will be more than happy to meet you all. And of course, Aliyah, this is the best, but also from Australia, you have a lot of power, and especially now to influence and to be part of this strong support of this new chapter of the settling movement.
Okay, thanks, Lital, and thanks to Gila also for helping out. Just before we go, the L'chaim program with Morris Klein is on right now. That's 3ZZZ. That's all we have for tonight. Join us next week with Michael Danby, where we ask him to assess the Labor government to date and report on other world issues. Don't forget that you can keep up to date with what AJA is talking about on our Facebook page. So we ask you to please like and share it widely. But for now, we wish you all a very good evening and look forward to seeing you next week as usual. From me, it's bye for now.